All right, Steelers Nation, here we go, diving straight into the heart of training camp where the pads finally came on. And things got real, fast. It was the first full contact practice. And you could immediately tell this was a different level of physicality compared to the lighter drills and walkthroughs we'd seen so far. The offense, well, let's just say they got a harsh welcome from the defense that day. The intensity was palpable. And the scoreboard wasn't the only thing showing who had the upper hand. The expressions on the players' faces said it all. You could see the frustration, the grit, and the sheer effort as the defenders controlled the tempo. It was one of those practices that reminds you why football is a collision sport. Why every inch on the field is earned through blood, sweat, and sometimes even bruises. Now, the offense didn't exactly collapse. It wasn't a total meltdown. But the defense definitely had their way more often than not. If you were watching, you'd notice the defense wearing those signature yellow jerseys, spending an awful lot of time near the offensive backfield. They weren't just pressuring. They were dictating the terms, turning every snap into a challenge for the offense. On the other side, the offense was trying to find its rhythm. But those moments were fleeting and often disrupted before they could gain momentum. One highlight, though, came early, a bit of a silver lining. Aaron Rodgers, showing why he's still one of the best to ever play the game, threw a beautiful touch pass to DK Metcalf in the back of the end zone during the 7 shots drill. It was precision football at its finest. A perfect connection between quarterback and receiver that resulted in a touchdown. That play was a reminder of what this offense can look like when it clicks. But it also stood out because it was one of the few times the offense managed to string a clean, effective drive together in the middle of a pretty grueling day. But aside from that moment, the day was dominated by defensive domination. You had Nick Herbig coming off the edge like a whirlwind, blowing up plays as soon as the ball was snapped, literally pouncing on guys before they could even get set. Joey Porter Jr. was everywhere, notching the big tackles for loss near the sideline that sent clear messages about the physical tone the defense was setting. And those moments, they weren't flukes or lucky plays. They were a pattern that repeated throughout the afternoon. Quarterbacks were getting rushed out of the pocket, sometimes hurried into throws they didn't want to make. Mason Rudolph, in particular, took what would count as sacks in a real game and acknowledged them, stopping plays when the pressure was too much. That kind of disruption is exactly what makes the defense stand out during camp. It was hard to really zero in on individual offensive players, because everything was happening in fits and starts, often broken plays or situations where the defense completely controlled the action. I wanted to see more from guys like Caleb Johnson, but too often he was caught in the chaos of plays collapsing before they even began. The offense wasn't able to showcase complex looks or get multiple tight ends and wide receivers involved, as those formations never really had the chance to develop under such heavy pressure. The defense was just that relentless, and it showed. Now, it's easy to look at this and say the offense is behind, way behind, compared to the defense right now, and honestly, that's usually the case in early camp. Defense often gets a jump because their role is to react and disrupt, while the offense is still learning timing and chemistry. But this was a more extreme case. The gap between the units felt wider than usual, and that's natural to raise eyebrows and stir some concern. But here's the deal, it's only the first day of full pads. It's not a snapshot of what the season will look like, nor is it the final word on this offense's potential. There's a kind of beauty in this early struggle. Sometimes a little adversity like this can light a fire under a group, forcing adjustments, refocusing energy, and building a toughness that pays off when the games actually start. The edges, specifically, were a problem for the offense. Most of the defensive disruption came from outside pressure, that wild burst off the edge, from guys like Herbig, Porter, and others who simply overwhelmed the blockers. It's a reminder that protection schemes have to tighten up, and that offensive line communication and coordination will be absolutely critical moving forward. But here's where things get interesting. The offense can absolutely adjust. Coaches can put more blockers in, keep more tight ends on the field, focus on physicality rather than finesse routes in certain packages. It's not just about strategy. It's about mentality. The Steelers have always prided themselves on a physical, tough-minded approach, especially on offense. And this kind of defensive pressure should only encourage that mindset more. If you're going to face that level of aggression, you respond with your own bruising style. We saw glimpses of that in Calvin Austin, the smallest guy on offense, but playing with a chip on his shoulder like a linebacker. That fire needs to spread across the entire offense. Size and skill alone won't carry the day if the mental edge isn't there. Aaron Rodgers showed flashes of brilliance beyond that. Touchdown connection with Metcalf. His accuracy was generally solid, with only 1 or 2 passes that really missed the mark. And for the first time this camp, we saw him start moving his feet under pressure, which is encouraging. It's not ideal for a team to rely on the quarterback running around to escape heat, but in camp, it's a good sign that Rodgers can create plays with his legs when the pocket collapses. His ability to avoid getting sacked, even when forced to roll out unexpectedly, shows resilience and adaptability. Jaylen Warren looked good, as he often does, showing the kind of tough, consistent running back play the Steelers have been craving. Caleb Johnson also flashed promise with some runs where he literally fell forward after minimal openings, gaining extra yards just by sheer effort. That kind of determination to push for every inch is something this offense desperately needs, especially considering how long the team has struggled on second and long situations over recent seasons. The offensive line, though, was a bit tougher to evaluate. The chaos off the edges clouded much of what they did well or poorly. It wasn't about inside pressure or breakdowns over the middle. It was about containing those explosive defenders. Coming off the edges, Calvin Anderson, filling in at left tackle, performed admirably, earning rare public praise from Mike Tomlin after practice, and that's no small feat. Troy Falcon, stepping up as well, held his ground. The challenge for the line will be to translate those solid moments into consistent protection, especially against pass rushers who seem to be getting stronger and faster every year. Rodgers himself admitted earlier in the day that he was still trying to get comfortable with the offense. There's a lot of new information, new players, and new schemes to absorb. He's still relying on teammates like Zach Frazier to help him anticipate and prepare for what's coming next. That kind of learning curve is expected, especially in the early days of camp. So it's important not to overreact based on just one day of padded practice. Now, a fascinating question came up about whether going against a defense as talented and ferocious as the Steelers during camp could actually slow offensive development. The logic is that when defenders like T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, or Derek Harrell are shutting down plays so effectively, it limits the reps offensive players get to work on advanced blocking or timing on the second and third levels. In theory, fewer repetitions could impact confidence and growth. But at the same time, this kind of competition pushes players to improve in ways that practice reps against less gifted defenders simply can't. It's the classic iron sharpens iron argument. And there's definitely merit there. I saw a perfect example of this during one of the drills, where wide receivers ran straightforward routes against tight man coverage. DK Metcalf took on Joey Porter Jr., one of the Steelers' rising defensive stars. Metcalf made a subtle move about 15 yards down the sideline, broke free, and Rodgers hit him with a perfectly placed throw just short of the end zone for a touchdown. Porter had no answers. He was flat out beaten on that play. Despite having a great practice otherwise, moments like that are invaluable for defensive players. They expose areas for improvement and motivate better preparation against elite opponents in real games. On the flip side, Roman Wilson struggled running the same route against Brandon Echols, who locked him down so tightly there wasn't even an inch of space. Echols even managed to swat the ball away, sending a message loud and clear. That kind of physical, disruptive play is what keeps receivers honest and forces them to elevate their game, or risk falling out of the rotation. Whether Wilson can rise to that challenge remains to be seen, but these kinds of reps are critical for player development. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The sports world has been shaken to its core with a shocking rumor that has fans and insiders buzzing nonstop. Kenny Pickett, the promising quarterback once hailed as the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is reportedly on the verge of signing with a fierce rival team. While nothing has been officially confirmed, whispers have spread rapidly through locker rooms, social media, and sports talk shows alike, suggesting that Pickett's loyalty to the Steelers might be unraveling faster than anyone anticipated. This potential move has sent waves of disbelief and betrayal through the Steelers fan base, who have long seen Pickett as the cornerstone of their franchise's rebuilding efforts. The implications of such a signing are monumental, as it could drastically alter the competitive landscape and create unprecedented tension in one of the NFL's most storied rivalries. Even the smallest hint of confirmation has been enough to send Steelers supporters into a state of shock. with many expressing feelings of abandonment and disbelief over what they perceive as a stunning act of treachery. Reports suggest that behind the scenes, negotiations between Pickett's camp and the rival team have been progressing quietly but steadily, fueling speculation about the quarterback's future and the Steelers' intentions. The possibility that Pickett could align himself with a team that has been a perennial nemesis has caused fans to question the management's commitment to retaining their young talent. There is talk that contractual disagreements, playing time assurances, or strategic differences could have driven a wedge between the Steelers and their former Golden Boy, pushing him toward greener pastures or perhaps more contentious ones. Analysts have begun dissecting every social media interaction and public statement for clues, while rival fans are already celebrating what would be a massive coup if the signing goes through. The potential signing is more than just a player switch. It threatens to redefine loyalties and narratives across the league, reigniting a rivalry with newfound intensity and personal stakes. As the rumor mill churns, Pittsburgh's fan base is fractured between hope and despair, unable to reconcile the image of Pickett as their franchise savior with the emerging possibility that he could don a rival's jersey. Forums and fan groups are aflame with heated debates, with some accusing the Steelers' front office of mismanagement or disloyalty to their own player, while others speculate that Pickett himself may have grown disillusioned with the organization's direction or prospects. The emotional impact of this potential betrayal is palpable, as it touches on the deeply personal connections that fans forge with athletes who represent their city and aspiration. The narrative of Pickett's rise and possible departure has morphed into a dramatic saga, echoing through every corner of the sports community. It's a story that encapsulates the complex interplay of business, passion, and identity that defines professional sports, where allegiances can shift as swiftly as fortunes and where a single decision can reverberate for years to come. Moreover, INDUSTRY insiders hint that this alleged signing could mark the beginning of a broader trend in the league, where young stars increasingly prioritize personal opportunity and financial incentives over traditional loyalty to their drafting team. Pickett's rumored move is seen by some as emblematic of a new era, where rivalries might be less about geography and history and more about individual career strategies and market dynamics. The Steelers, known for their ironclad fan loyalty and storied tradition, now face a crossroads that could challenge their identity and legacy. If Pickett does indeed join a rival, it could trigger a domino effect, influencing other players and front offices to rethink the unwritten rules of player retention and rivalry respect. The ramifications extend beyond a single transaction, stirring debates about the evolving nature of professional sports and the balance between personal ambition and collective allegiance. While official announcements remain pending and the situation continues to unfold, the buzz surrounding Kenny Pickett's potential defection to a rival team has already cemented itself as one of the most dramatic and consequential stories in recent NFL history. Steelers fans are bracing for what might come next, navigating a turbulent emotional landscape as they grapple with the possibility of losing a player many had invested their hopes and dreams in. Meanwhile, rival supporters watch eagerly, sensing an opportunity to capitalize on Pittsburgh's turmoil and potentially shift the balance of power. The story is far from over, and as more information emerges, the sports world will be watching closely to see how this high-stakes drama concludes. Whether Pickett's rumored signing materializes or not, the mere prospect has ignited a firestorm that underscores the unpredictable and passionate nature of football fandom and the game itself. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.